We have a guest in the studio now, and his name is Brian Adams. He is a North Charleston police officer, graduated after he graduated from high school, became a reserve officer at the city of Goose Creek, remained there, becoming a full-time employee in 92, and remained a police officer with the city of Goose Creek until 1996, and then has been working in North Charleston, which I would say, Brian, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
And that would give you a lot of experience in crime and fighting things that are going on, running for sheriff of Berkeley County.
That's correct.
Now, you're been a longtime resident of Berkeley County now, and you're originally from Michigan, so that your old weather you grew up with came this way this week.
They can keep it.
Yeah, send it back, yeah.
That's right.
So running for sheriff of Berkeley County. First, I like to ask candidates who are putting their hat in the ring for something for their first time with it, why? What made you decide to do that?
Well, I've been in police work for 22, going on 23 years, and I've gained a lot of experience working with North Charleston, like you said, and it's one of my aspirations to be a sheriff of Berkeley County. And so I got some ideas I'd like to bring to the county, and I think that would benefit the citizens and those in the county, excuse me, and that would provide a better service for them, because that's kind of what I'm looking for. One of the ideas I have is kind of working with the communities and building a community service officer program. And that would do a couple different things. That would allow the deputies to respond quicker, freeing them up for other calls, as well as having face-to-face contact with some community service officers to take some of the nonviolent issues and reports.
Well, we had William Piegler, the mayor of Moncks Corner, on last week, I believe it was, and we talked about the issue that faces what is kind of Charleston, but it's Berkeley County, which would be within your area if you win the election, which is that Cainhoy-Wando area where a lot of times if there's a county issue from Berkeley, the folks, the officers have to come down from Moncks Corner. What do you think of that? What do you think of that setup? Should they have the community service offices more scattered around? Is it a cost prohibitive thing? How do you feel on that matter?
Well, I think you can first. One of the first things, I get a lot of comments about substations. I agree with substations. The problem with substations, if you don't have the manpower on the road, you can put all the substations you want, and when they get dispatched, you're going to leave that area.
Right.
So the first thing you got to solve is putting more manpower on the road.
I don't have a handle, for the sake of this interview, on the numbers, but perhaps you do since you're running for the office. What's been going on around our area has been something that's been a thread of my show for some time now. Charleston City under the jurisdiction of Mayor Riley as the mayor, and he touted that in his State of the City address last night, saying that crime is down 17%. Then I look to North Charleston, where you are presently a police officer, and crime is up, and there are other factions of our area that are seeing an increase in crime or activity. And it appears to me that crime is being exported from one section of the market to another, and that it's unfortunately most plaguing where you now serve as a police officer. Can you comment on that? Is that an accurate assessment, or is there something more going on that maybe ought to be looked at?
Well, actually, North Charleston crime's down over the last 11 years. Now, we have had a spike this year coming right into the new year, but as the violence already dropped again. So that's just something we have to take. And then what we do is we use crime analysis to kind of put the officers where we need to put them and to remove the crime again. But that's always kind of what the department's trying to do. We always try and take that crime and move it. Move it, either put them in jail or move it.
Right.
And just kind of force them out of the area, whether it's the communities or their shopping centers or what.
As you look at where you are now, North Charleston, and then looking forward to Berkeley County as a potential sheriff of that county, what would you say about the staffing that exists with police officers and sheriff's deputies? Is it enough, or should it be more?
Oh, they need to have more on the road.
Okay.
Clearly have more on the road in Berkeley County. What they have is they really are kind of top heavy. So they don't have as many officers on the road per se as like your Charleston County, Charleston City, or North Charleston do. Even like Goose Creek or Somerville, they have more officers per person. So basically what they need to do is I think they would have to make some of the sergeants on the street and those that may be in admin positions, put them back on the street to put more manpower on the street and make them working supervisors.
North Charleston, Somerville, Berkeley County as well, particularly Goose Creek. I've seen a lot of meth lab busts lately. Is that a situation where there's been a greater focus put on busting those labs, or we've just got a lot of them around here that are plaguing our community, or a combination of both? What's going on with all those drug busts of that nature?
I think you're going to see an increase of those. It's kind of on the rise right now with the meth labs.
And maybe that's economic, where people are turning to that for some source of income, or they're just drug addicted. I mean, what's the reason you're seeing that increase?
Most of the labs that you're getting right now they're for themselves.
Okay.
You know, they're for themselves, that they're addicted to it. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's coming from.
Now, the spike in crime back to North Charleston, and again, this gives a listener perspective that's listening in Berkeley County of just what your experience with dealing with. Right now, we've had a real increase in crime in North Charleston just for the year. We had shootings on New Year's Day. We've had other murders or attempted murders, and pretty staggering numbers for a city this size. And then on top of that, it appears to sort of be in the community of such that people know things are going on. People see things happening. They see these murders. They know who did it. And there seems to be a real problem once the suspect is identified, getting these people to come out and testify. Sometimes even finding the suspect, because nobody will speak up because they're afraid then they'll be the victim. How do we fix that?
Well, I think just staying within the communities. We have to build a relationship with the families and those that live in the communities, have been living there all their lives, and just build a better relationship with them. Show them that we're not there to hurt them or their family. We're there to try and solve that crime.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I read is that we don't really have a viable witness protection program in the state. So once we identify that witness, do you think that would be a helpful thing for the police to have these witnesses in protection, so they couldn't be killed? More would come forth at that point in your experience with dealing with them, or are they just worried about their community and saying anything in general? Would that help?
It would help a little bit, but I think the overall we got to get in there and do a better job with the relationships.
Okay. We're talking with Brian Adams, platinum recording artist, by the way. I was pulling up your website and I had to weed through all the music stuff. We'll continue in a moment. More questions. Candidate for Berkeley County Sheriff, presently a North Charleston police officer, as the Brian Crabtree Show continues. In the studio with us, candidate for Berkeley County Sheriff Brian Adams. We're talking crime. I understand Joe going to talk marijuana in a minute, so that'll get everybody's attention, and the legalization of pot movement that's going on around the country. Brian, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Nightclub shootings. Let's go there first. Lots of them in Berkeley County. There seem to be a lot of rogue nightclubs all about the county, little drop-ins, people are getting shot. Innocent people going into remember that one lady, I don't remember her name, but she had gotten shot and she was just there for someone's birthday party. Mother, 16-year-old daughter, the mother died.
Right.
Just tragedy. What does Berkeley County, from the sheriff's department and as a county as a whole, need to do to stop these tragedies? Do we need to shut some of these down, or what? What do we do?
Well, definitely. I think if they're having a lot of violence, we're getting a lot of reports out, and we're having a lot of problems, and other crimes are taking place, and we need to start looking at those and see if we can remove their license to close them down. I'm not sure about Berkeley County. I know Charleston County and us, we have a 2:00 a.m. closing,
mm-hmm.
and that helps out a lot.
Yeah.
So
that one, I think, had been just after midnight, but
right.
But it had been a nightclub that had repeated violence.
Right. They've actually had another murder there like a year or two before that as well.
Exactly.
So, but that's definitely, you look at the reports and the track history of it, and if that's something you could do to remove the license to close them down, I'm all for that.
Is that easy to do?
It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of paper trail, and then just go after them.
Is that something as a sheriff you would initiate, or would it be the someone else within the county that would have to do that on the urging of the sheriff?
Oh, no, I think the sheriff's office would put the reports together, because they're
Okay.
the ones that are going to take the reports for all the violence and things that occur there. So you take those and you work with the other departments within the county to get them closed down.
Now, you have one of the things that you're pushing as you run as a candidate for sheriff Berkeley County is crime analysis for the deputies. Tell me what that means. What does that do?
Basically, what that does is we follow the crime. We look at the crime that's taking place within certain communities. Like, let's say, for instance, St. James Estates off Red Bank Road. If they have a spike in crime, they had several vehicles stolen over the last 30 days as it is now. So what we do is we can look at that. We could put the amount of deputies that we think is needed to get in there to to stop that and maybe solve the crime, what is occurring. So you just kind of take some of this crime analysis and you follow the crime, and you use that in order to place the extra deputies you need in there to stop it from happening and solve it.
Now, if you do put extra deputies over here, let's say where you've had a spike in crime, and then this maybe you would assume you'd have to reduce some where there hadn't been as much crime. Does the crime then migrate as a result, or is this analysis helping you to predict that? How does that work?
Well, it does. It will actually help you. You kind of get ahead of it by watching the crime analysis and stuff. And you don't always move everybody from one area to another area. You use some selective enforcement, things like that. And if you have that's when you start building your neighborhood resource officer program. You get them familiar with the neighborhoods and the community members inside, so they have a direct link with the deputies in there.
Is this sort of like there's a group of people, not as a group, but as individuals making up a group that commit a lot of these infractions around the community, and you sort of get a track on those people and you understand where they're going and what they're doing and how they're behaving, and they're sort of, if you don't have the right tools in place or the right manpower, they sort of get ahead of you and you're chasing them, and what you're saying is getting ahead of them.
That's absolutely.
And meeting them at the event. Well, it sounds brilliant, and it sounds like we need more of those types of things, or at least ought to be trying them. I know, Joe, you want to talk about pot.
Yeah, it's becoming. Oh yeah, you're looking at me.
He's turning red in the face. Look at him.
Well, since it's become an issue across the country about legalization or decriminalization, could you tell us from your experience in law enforcement which arguments for and against are true, which are not true, and do you have a stance on the issue?
Well, I do have a stance on it. My stance is I don't think it should be legalized. I do think it's going to be a Pandora's box that we open, and I think down the road that we're going to regret opening up that Pandora box.
And I this is not some issue that I'm huge on. It's just kind of a hunch that I can't shake. And my view is that it is not any worse than alcohol as far as crime and things that happen and people getting killed. And so I look at, and it's not saying, well, because one thing that's bad is allowed, another bad thing, and two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, to me, it's not any more of a gateway drug than alcohol is. So I think I throw out that argument, and I look at it as being a very popular drug that is in the community that people are doing underneath the surface illegally. And if it was brought to the surface, the criminals who are doing it probably would be put out of business, and that would maybe they'd go to something else. But the end result is that if you regulate it and tax it, it almost kind of fuels law enforcement and brings it all to the surface. So there'd be no reason for people to go and get it within the crime district. And as I understand it in my research of it, I don't know this firsthand, but I understand that what happens is you get somebody that goes to buy the stuff illegally, and you do business with criminals. You expect crime is going to happen to everybody because you're doing a crime at this point if you're buying the stuff. What then happens is bad stuff gets given, somebody gets upset, there becomes a war between the two, somebody gets shot, somebody gets killed. To me, that gets eliminated somewhat. Am I wrong there? Is that
No, I guess that you could always have that argument. It still does. I don't think it's going to eliminate it completely. You're still going to have some illegal growers. You're still going to have some illegal dealers out there. It's no different than with alcohol and things like that. I do now saying that I think it should be still illegal. The problem is it's being legalized throughout the country in different states,
which really creates a problem.
It does create a huge problem, and then our courts aren't looking at it the same way. So that's where the lines.
So then you're out. You've got a real. I mean, what I just described is real, I believe, which is where you've got that war going on, people getting shot as a result of it, and then when you're trying to stop it in advance with the illegal dealing of it,
right?
Then what happens is you don't get the same reaction in the courtroom. That's a good point. That's an unintended consequence I have not thought of. Yep. Well, Brian Adams running for Sheriff Berkeley County. We're bringing people in all year to talk about. We'll probably bring you back as the race heats up, or at least have you on the phone to update us on the race, and we wish you luck.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in today. WQSC 1340 and AM 950, 1340 and AM 950, 1340.